Hi, welcome to this week's video. I'm going to do some commonplacing today. Um, it's been a while since I sat and did this, and I thought it'd be a nice thing to do personally because I've had a hectic few days, and this is always a nice way to sort of unwind and focus on stuff, but also because I've accumulated a bit of a stack of books where I've put flags in to make notes of things, and it would be good to do that, and then I can sell or donate these books to charity just to help keep my collection down a little bit. So I've got my book. It's an A5 Hobonichi notebook from the spring release from 2013. I've got my pen, which is a Uniball pen. I've got, I think this is slightly off camera, but I've got my stickers and sort of scrapbooking bits and some dot stickers here, and then my pile of books here. I've got this sort of page marker thing to help keep the pages open. So I think that's going to be that. So while this commonplace with me footage plays through, I thought I'd answer a few questions that I'd received in the last couple of days. So some of the questions were about commonplacing, some were about music. So I thought I'd cover those, and then I'll leave you with some nice music over the footage. So the first thing, and I think it helps sort of introduce and explain this video a little bit better, the Common Corner asked, what are my favourite things to commonplace about? What book do I use to commonplace, and why have I chosen that particular book? So some of my favourite things to commonplace about, I sort of reviewed my commonplace book over the last year or so to really sort of reflect on this a bit better. And I hadn't realised, but I commonplace a lot about the tarot readings that I do and about astrological events. I enjoy it. I get a lot from it. I think that's the main thing. So I write about that a lot. I write recipes up quite frequently. I write up quotes from books that I like, which is, what I'm doing in this video here. I also commonplace quite a bit about planners and journaling. It tends to be the case that I get an idea or thought in my head about a different layout or a different planner or something to try, the following month or the following year, and I'll often print off a picture of, whatever the desired thing is, write down my thoughts around it. It kind of helps get it out of my head a bit. I tend to find that I get fixated on things sometimes, and rather than it just going round and round and round in my head and the thoughts not actually developing but just sort of going around and around, if I write it down, it sometimes helps me make sense of things, think more kind of logically about the pros and cons and so on. So journaling and planning is something that I also commonplace and write a lot about, which I always find sort of funny, commonplacing about commonplacing essentially. The book that I use for commonplacing, I touched on it at the very beginning, but it's a Hobonichi A5 notebook from last year's spring release. The reason I picked it to commonplace in was I bought it last year as part of that spring release without a real purpose for it. So it was in my stack of notebooks and I wanted to put it to use. As it turns out, I'm not 100% getting on too well with it. I'm probably going to make another video talking about that in a bit more detail. But it was really about making use of something that I'd already bought. That was the main thing, really. And then the couple of other questions I had were around music. So Bookie asked, what sort of music do I listen to? What are some of my favourite genres and artists? And Hope asked, is there any music that I've discovered recently that I would like to share? I listen to music virtually every day, and for some reason it took me a while to think about who are my favourite musicians, who do I listen to the most. In our house, it's very much a retro kind of music household for the most part. We mostly listen to things like the Beatles. That's, they come up a lot, and the Who. We also enjoy a lot of the Beatles solo stuff. For myself, particularly George Harrison. But other bands and other musicians that I like a lot, I love the Manic Street Preachers. I've not listened to them actively in sort of the last few years, but for a long time they were like the band for me, and I know quite a lot of their biography and their history and so on because they were a big interest of mine for a long time. We also listened to the Divine Comedy a lot. We actually went to see them, I think it was 3 times last year, and we're looking at potentially seeing them again at some point. They're an underrated band. People know them for sort of 1 or 2 songs, but there's a lot to go out there and they're really great. I love Tom Rosenthal as well. I was sort of a bit more of a casual fan, but then my sibling and I went to see him, not December just gone, but the one before that, and I love his stuff. Boy Genius and Phoebe Bridgers, they are my go-to at the minute. They are the band that I put on if I'm like, right, I'm, I don't know, cooking or I'm running or I'm just doing something. Who am I go-to to put on? It's them. I've been listening to Bon Iver a little bit recently. I've also been re-listening to Devendra Banhart again. We also like Travis in this house, Queen, Childish Gambino, he's another favourite of mine. There's a lot going on. I took a clip actually of our record collection and a couple of sort of my favourites from that, so I'll probably insert that around here. I wouldn't say I've discovered any music as such because so much of the music that I like is from, you know, the sort of 60s, 70s and so on. So it feels odd to use the word discovered, but I suppose discovered for me would be Echo and the Bunnymen. You know, I know the hits, but I hadn't really delved deep where I'm starting to put that sort of thing on at the minute and I'm enjoying it a lot, getting a lot out of it. So yeah, those were the questions. Hopefully that was interesting. If anyone had any more questions, I'm more than happy to chat. I like chatting to people in the comments on here, so I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of the video. I had this stack of books and it turned out there was only fragments that I actually wanted to write down, so that's going to be helpful in terms of clearing some space in the house. I'm a little bit croaky. I need to go make some lunch and have some water. Hope that was useful, beneficial. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.